Right, we normally do 2 different videos, but we're giving you all of it in one go this time. Number 15 is Wall Kickers, a free iOS and Android game. It's basically a side-scrolling vertical platformer that's played fully by attempting to go up, diagonally jumping between vertical platforms, so to speak. We don't really often see a fully vertical platform. There isn't really an aspect of platforming in a horizontal sense, and it focuses entirely on this, and it works really well. The graphics are a bit basic, but they're light, colorful, and pleasant, so you never really lose track of what you're doing, and it's a lot of fun. Wall Kickers is free and available on iOS and Android. Number 14 is another free game, Star Trek Trexels 2, a game that, it looks so much better than the original one. It's just because they upgraded the style to be more along the lines of 16 versus 8-bit graphics, and I really like what it looks like. I think it really looks pretty. It's more or less a team-based strategy game, and it's not all battles and all of that. There's a lot of non-battle oriented stuff. The non-violent objectives aren't particularly complex by any means. They are usually involving like flipping a switch of some kind. And a lot of this is being able to construct a team of characters that you personally like and go through areas of the Star Trek universe that you also personally like. It doesn't try to be canon or anything like that. It uses a time travel mechanic to allow you to basically do whatever you want in Star Trek, and that's what this game is. It's fun too, especially if you like Star Trek. It's also free. It's out on iOS and Android now, so give it a shot. Number 13 is Valleys Between, which is a pay game for iOS, which is a world-building game in which you piece together various tiles to build a world where animals and plant life can thrive. It's a profoundly calming game. It's not one of these games that is going to stress you out at any point, but it does give you various different consequences for different ways you do things. It's essentially about achieving balance. Also, the animations are genuinely just beautiful. I love what this game looks like, and it's a lot of fun. Valleys Between is currently out on iOS for $4.49. Number 12 is Barbarian, B-E-A-R, which bills itself as a hack and slash extravaganza. And this is not your simple hack and slash. It's more along the lines of an actual serious hack and slash game. For one, it doesn't give you any microtransaction options to get good at the beginning, and the beginning is hard. In fact, this is a challenging game that I would say you wouldn't expect on the mobile platform. It feels a little bit more along the lines of a full-fledged Steam-type hack and slash game, which to be 100% clear is something that I like a lot. It's really nice to have a game that feels like a game as opposed to a microtransaction fest, and it is a lot of fun despite the difficulty level. It is currently only available on iOS for $8.99, and I have some hopes that it's coming to other platforms. Number 11 is The Company Game, which is a really interesting puzzle game with a narrative that, well, in my opinion, creates a kind of unrest that is paralleled by the sort of modern corporate world pretty well. It has that sort of pretty gloss to it that has its weird oppressive feeling, and it constantly tells you through various cues that there is something wrong. For instance, it's telling you that it's lying right off. That's not even a spoiler. This is an ongoing series that the conclusion has not come to. This is the first part of it, so we don't really know what's going on exactly yet, but it's very intriguing and it's actually a lot of fun. The puzzles are well constructed and I enjoyed it. It's out for iOS and Android for $1.99. Number 10 is 1 Hour, One Life, which is a game that you are born to either one of the other players, or if there aren't any mothers that you can be born to, you're just spawned. You live for 60 years and the point is to contribute to the world around you, either for yourself or as part of the community you were born into, with an overarching goal of building a civilization. Well, for most people, and there's people who like to mess things up, and that's part of it. It's actually a really interesting concept for a game, and it works really well. I wouldn't be shocked if you see more games that work like this in the future, with varying themes and art styles. 1 Hour, One Life is out on iOS and Android for $4.99. Number 9 is Golfing Around, which is a golf simulation, obviously. It's a game that acts as a platform for building golf courses as well as a really fun way of playing the golf courses. Both elements of the game, the building and the playing, are very intuitive. They work out quite well, and the graphics are really nice and simple. This isn't a game that is going to get your blood pumping or anything like that, but it's a lot of fun, and I think that you're going to enjoy it if you like golf games especially. Golfing Around is free, and it's exclusive to iOS currently, but hopefully it makes its way to other platforms. Number 8 is Donut County, a physics puzzle game with an interesting story featuring a raccoon who, through a pretty intuitive interface, digs holes underneath a lot of things and explores a lot of places. It's got a great visual style, it's a cel-shaded 3D, and there actually is a narrative about a society underground that hopes to one day come back up for air, so to speak. The thing that's so great about this is it's a lot of different weird things that you wouldn't think blend together well, and it blends it together perfectly. It's currently only out on iOS. Hopefully it comes out for more because it is a lot of fun, and it costs $4.99. Number 7 is Bikes Unchained 2, which is actually from Red Bull Interactive, which is not something you might expect. On account, it's a really good game. It's pretty much a downhill racing game that is quite pretty. It has a weird beauty to it, and the gameplay itself is actually quite enjoyable. It is overloaded, as you might expect, with Red Bull references, which can get a little bit annoying considering the game is genuinely good, and then it's telling you to drink Red Bull in some form. But the fact that it's a more than competent, in fact, very good downhill bike racing game with PvP, I think basically makes it worth that, and it's currently only on iOS. Like I said, it is free though. Number 6 is New Star Manager, which is a soccer management game, or football if you're from a country that's not the United States. You take control of a team called New Star, and the point is to attempt to make them a ragtag group of underfunded, underprivileged players into a worldwide global force. It works too. If you look for a new football/soccer manager game from time to time, this is definitely one to try out. It's on both iOS and Android, and it is also free. Number 5 is Monster Hunter Stories, which is a game probably not exactly like what you would expect from Monster Hunter. It is a JRPG through and through, both visually and in mechanics, which is not normal for Monster Hunter. It has a traditional turn-based battle system, and for people like myself, it's great because I love Monster Hunter and I love JRPGs, so it's basically both of those things. This is a game that originally came out on the 3DS. It looks better on mobile, absolutely. It has a lot of different dynamics with the monsters that would take much longer to explain, but rest assured, it really does fulfill the idea of a JRPG with monsters in it. It's out on both iOS and Android. It's a little bit steep at $19.99, but it is worth the price if you want a good JRPG based on Monster Hunter. Number 4 is Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realm War. Obviously, the Warhammer franchise has a large number of different ideas and games, pretty much cooking at all times, and here we have these sort of PvP MOBA type card battler. So I don't full-blown compare it to Clash Royale because it's a little more complex than that. It's much prettier, it's got more going on at any given time, but at its base, it's very similar to that. It's 3D and it's a lot prettier though, and of course, it takes place in the Warhammer universe. Now, it's got more going on in it, but it's built on a formula that it's ultimately pretty addictive and fun. If you like Warhammer, this is definitely that game for you. It's out on both iOS and Android for free, so check it out. Number 3 is Cube Escape Paradox. Cube Escape Paradox is a narrative escape game in which you solve a mystery in order to get out of a cube. Now, that sounds oversimplified. It is. It's a lot more than that. It's part of a longer ongoing series. It has tie-ins with a short film, but don't let that discourage you from attempting to play it. All of this stuff is ancillary information. It's actually the puzzles that matter, and they're good. It's actually quite a great game. Cube Escape Paradox is out on iOS and Android for free, so check it out. Number 2 is Brave Frontier: The Last Summoner, which is very much a turn-based social JRPG. It brings in elements of strategy that give it more layers than a lot of its competitors, and being it's a free-to-play game, there's a large amount of collection going on in it. It is a lot of fun. It's a very in-depth version of this type of RPG, and the art style is absolutely phenomenal. It's out on both iOS and Android. It's free. And finally, number 1 is Vampires Fall Origins, which more or less is kind of a turn-based Diablo-ish style game. That's actually what Diablo in its original idea was going to be, so I wonder if there's some relation there. In every way, it's very much a harkening back to classic CRPG style games, from the 90s fonts to the isometric perspective. It is a 2D game, and it does contain some more modern interface conventions, I would say, but it really feels like a classic game. And aside from it being free, it actually doesn't have any bad monetization going on. The developers are going to monetize the game eventually, but I have a feeling it's not going to be coercive because they seem very much against that type of monetization model, and the game itself is high quality. It is absolutely something you need to try out. It's a couple of different types of nostalgia, and it really works together very well. It's currently out on Android, and it's free, so play it. I'm dead serious. This is not a pun, although it sounds like a pun. I'm dead serious. Play this game. It's very good. As a quick bonus game for you, on both iOS and Android for $4.99, Dr. Splotchy presents Space Heroes, a game by Squanch Games. And the real attraction to this is the Rick and Morty style humor, which is funny. That alone kind of makes it worth playing for people who like that. I'm one of those people who like that, so despite its brevity, it's still pretty worthwhile. What was your favorite iOS or Android game this month? Leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and click like if you happen to enjoy the video. To see new videos as we upload them every single day, make sure you click subscribe, and do not forget to click the alarm bell so you get notifications and you don't miss them. As always, thank you very much for watching this video.